Okay, Justin with his Alexander books. Alexander, in following Darius, he bore a lot of fallen soldiers or soldiers he lost, and he bore this with a great expenses of their funerals of these soldiers. With the rest of his allies of this expedition of his, he divided talents, which are coins and money, 13,000 amongst his companions or the allies. A major part of the horse, by the heat, he lost, same word as up here, and those who had survived had been made inutile. They were alive, but they couldn't be used for anything. 3. All of his money, 190,000 talents, was congested or heaped up at Ekbat. He put in charge of this Parmenion. While these things were gunting going on, a letter of Antipater from Macedonia was given to him, in which the war of this guy here, of the king of the Spartans, was contained in it. In Greece, that's the Spartans there. The war of another guy called Alexander, who was the king of Epirus, was going on in Italy. And the war of this guy here, who was Alexander's, it's this ES here, he was the prefect or governor in Scythia. Quibus, in these letters, he was affected or had feelings that were various, but nevertheless it was more of happiness, he felt, with the deaths of two of his rival kings, than of the dolor or grief that he'd taken when these armies had been lost with Zophrion. This other Alexander was his uncle, and Zophrion's this other guy. For after the setting out of Alexander, almost all of Greece, into this occasion of retaking their liberty, had rent to arms, following the authority of the Spartans as their authority, who, of Philip and of Alexander, had spurned the peace alone, soli be alone, and they had rejected his conditions. The general of this war was Argus, the king of the Spartans. That was him, whom this motion or revolt, Antipater, having contracted all these soldiers together, had oppressed in the very beginning of this motum. Nevertheless, or still, there was a great cades, slaughter, utrumque on both sides. 10. King Agus, when his men he saw turning their backs, dismissed all his satellites, the people around him, his guards, so that he would seem not inferior with virtue, but with the luck of Alexander, or with Alexander's luck. And such a stragum, such a slaughter he produced for the enemy, that sometimes whole columns of men would be routed and flee. Ultimately, post-Dramum, although he was defeated by a multitude, nevertheless, he conquered all in his gloria. 2. Poro. Furthermore, Alexander, the king of Epirus, his uncle, with the Tarentan people, praying or begging for auxiliaries against the Bridios people. He had been solicited into doing this. Thus, with desire, he had set out to go against these people, as if in the division of the Orbis Terrarum, in the division of the world, his sister's name was Olympiad, and Alexander was the child of his sister, the Filio. The east was going to Alexander, the son of his sister, but for himself, by lot, his lot fell to himself for the west. So Alexander, his nephew, would get the east, Alexander the Great, and himself the west. Not less material of the matter in Italy, so this material is not like lumber or whatever, it'd be opportunity. So there wasn't a less opportunity for him in Italy and Africa and Sicily than for Alexander the Great. He would have in Asia and Persia. Added to this was that just as the Delphic oracle to Alexander the Great had spoken, I guess, if there's a verb, of plottings in Macedonia, or sometimes it's ambushes, but looks like plotting. Thus here was the response to him of Jove at Dodana, had predicted, there's a verb of speaking, the city of Pandosia and the river, whatever the hell that is, Acherusium, which both, or both of which, these places, were in Epirus. He was ignorant, or he wasn't knowing, if there would be the same named places in Italy. It's like in Australia, where a lot of our places are named after places in England. So he knew Epirus had these two places, but he figured there must be elsewhere. Anyway, to decline, or avert maybe the perils of fate, he was desirous to do such a thing. He chose the foreign campaign. Therefore, when he came into Italy, first thing to him there was a war with the Apulians, of which, with his cognition, recognition, or understanding of the city by fate, post a brevi piece of time, there was peace and friendship with the king of these people he made. Urat namque, for there was then of time, not good English but good Latin, there was then at that time a city of the Apulians called Brundisium, which the Aetolians, goes with that, they had followed, they'd founded this city following their general Diomedum, who was Clarissimum, and Nobilissimum, both superlatives. He's a famous and well-known general. He got his fame basically in his gestarum of rerums in Troy. So he'd done good things in Troy. Anyway, they founded this city.